Marcus Rodriguez pushed his cleaning cart down the long hallway of the 42nd floor. The wheels made a soft, squeaking sound on the shiny marble floor. It was past midnight and the Henderson corporate tower was almost empty. Only the security guards and a few late workers remained in the building. Marcus had been doing this job for 3 years now. Every night he cleaned the same floors, emptied the same trash cans, and wiped down the same desks. The people who worked here during the day never really saw him. To them, he was invisible. Just another person in a blue uniform who made their offices clean. He was 34 years old, but he looked older. Working 2 jobs and taking care of his daughter had aged him. His dark hair was starting to show gray at the sides. His hands were rough from all the cleaning work. But his eyes still had kindness in them. Even though life had been hard, Marcus stopped his cart outside the executive lounge. This was one of his favorite rooms to clean, not because it was easy, but because of what was inside. In the corner of the room sat a beautiful black piano. It was a grand piano, the kind that cost more money than Marcus made in 2 years. He walked over to the piano and ran his fingers gently along its smooth surface. The wood was so shiny he could see his reflection in it. Marcus knew about pianos. He knew this one was special. But he had never touched the keys. That would not be right. He was just the janitor. Marcus remembered when he first saw this piano 3 years ago. He had just started working at the company. His wife, Maria, had died only 6 months before. Cancer had taken her away from him and their 8-year-old daughter, Emma. The medical bills had used up all their savings. Marcus had to find work. Quickly. Before Maria got sick, Marcus had been a music teacher at the local elementary school. He loved teaching children how to play piano and guitar. Music had always been his life. But when Maria needed treatment, he had to quit his job to take care of her. After she died, no teaching jobs were available. The only work he could find was cleaning offices at night. The piano in the executive lounge reminded him of the one Maria used to play. She had been a music teacher too. That was how they met, at a music conference 15 years ago. Maria could make any piano sing. Her fingers moved like magic across the keys. She could play classical music, jazz, pop songs. Anything. Marcus walked around the piano slowly. He remembered how Maria would sit at their old piano at home and play for hours. Emma would sit next to her on the bench, trying to copy her mother's fingers. Maria was teaching Emma to play before she got sick. Emma was good at it, just like her mother. After Maria died, Marcus had to sell their piano. They needed the money for rent and food. Emma cried for days when the men came to take it away. That was one of the hardest things Marcus had ever done. But he had no choice. Now, Emma took piano lessons once a week with Mrs. Chun, an old lady who lived in their neighborhood. Marcus paid her $20 each week. It was money they could barely spare, but Marcus knew how important music was to Emma. It was her connection to her mother. Marcus finished dusting the piano and moved on to clean the rest of the lounge. He emptied the trash cans and wiped down the tables. The room had big windows that looked out over the city. Even at night, the lights from other buildings made everything glow. As he worked, Marcus thought about his day. After his shift ended at 6 in the morning, he would go home and make breakfast for Emma. Then he would walk her to school before catching a few hours of sleep. In the afternoon, he worked at a grocery store, stocking shelves and helping customers. That job paid less, but every dollar helped. Emma was everything to Marcus now. She was 8 years old and looked just like her mother. She had the same dark eyes and the same smile that could light up a room. Emma was smart and kind, but Marcus worried about her. She missed her mother every day. Sometimes he would find her crying quietly in her room. Marcus tried his best to be both mother and father to Emma. He helped her with homework, braided her hair for school, and read her stories at bedtime. But he knew she needed things he could not give her. She needed her mother. The piano lessons were the only time Emma seemed truly happy anymore. Mrs. Chun said Emma had natural talent. She learned songs quickly and played with real feeling. Marcus could see Maria and Emma when she played. It made him proud and sad at the same time. Marcus finished cleaning the lounge and pushed his cart to the next office. The building was so quiet at night. He could hear his own footsteps echoing in the empty hallways. Sometimes he felt like a ghost, moving through a world where he did not belong. The people who worked in these offices made more money in a month than Marcus made all year. They wore expensive suits and carried fancy briefcases. They talked about big business deals and vacation trips to places Marcus had only seen in pictures. Marcus did not feel sorry for himself. He was grateful to have work. The job paid enough to cover rent and food, and it had health insurance for Emma. That was important. He never wanted to face medical bills like the ones that had destroyed his family before, but sometimes, late at night when he was alone with his thoughts, Marcus wondered what his life might have been like if things had been different. If Maria had not gotten sick, if he was still teaching music, if Emma still had her mother and their old piano. Marcus shook his head and kept working. There was no point in thinking about the past. He had to focus on taking care of Emma and giving her the best life he could. That was what Maria would have wanted. As he cleaned, Marcus hummed quietly to himself. It was a song Maria used to play, a gentle melody that always made him feel peaceful. Music was still in his heart even if he could not play anymore. It would always be part of him, just like his love for Maria and Emma. The night was long, but Marcus worked steadily. Floor by floor, office by office, he made everything clean and ready for the next day. And tomorrow night he would do it all. Again. This was his life now, and he had accepted it, but deep inside, in a place he rarely let himself visit, Marcus still dreamed of music. The alarm clock rang at 5:30 in the morning. Marcus opened his tired eyes and reached over to turn it off. His small apartment was still dark. Outside the window, the sun had not started to rise yet. Marcus sat up slowly on the edge of his bed. His back ached from pushing the heavy cleaning cart all night. His hands were dry and rough from all the cleaning chemicals, but he could not rest yet. Emma would wake up soon, and she needed breakfast before school. Marcus walked quietly to the kitchen. Their apartment was small, just 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a tiny kitchen. The rent was $800 a month, which was a lot for Marcus. But it was in a safe neighborhood. With good schools for Emma. He started making coffee and looked at the bills on the kitchen counter. Electric bill, phone bill, rent notice. Always more bills than money. Marcus did the math in his head like he did every morning. After rent, food, and Emma's piano lessons, there was almost nothing left. Marcus heard Emma's bedroom door open. She walked into the kitchen, rubbing her eyes. Her long dark hair was messy from sleep. She wore pink pajamas with little flowers on them. "Good morning, Papa," Emma said softly. She always called him Papa, the Spanish word for father that Maria had taught her. "Good morning, my little star," Marcus replied, using his special name for her. He gave her a hug and kissed the top of her head. "Did you sleep well?" Emma nodded and sat at the small kitchen table. Marcus made her favorite breakfast, scrambled eggs with cheese and toast. He poured her a glass of orange juice and sat down across from her. "Do you have piano lesson today?" Marcus asked. Emma's face lit up. "Yes, Mrs. Chun is teaching me a new song. It's called Für Elise by Beethoven. She says it's hard, but I can learn it." Marcus smiled. He knew that song well. "Maria used to play it beautifully. I know you can learn it. You are very talented, just like your mama was." Emma looked down at her eggs. "I wish Mama could hear me play it." Marcus felt his heart break a little, like it did every time Emma mentioned her mother. He reached across the table and took her small hand in his. "Your mama can hear you, Emma. I believe that. And she's very proud of you." After breakfast, Marcus helped Emma get ready for school. He brushed her long hair and braided it the way Maria used to do. Emma put on her school uniform, a white shirt and blue skirt. They walked to school together. It was only 6 blocks, but Marcus always walked with her. The streets were busy with other parents taking their children to school. Marcus saw fathers in business suits carrying briefcases, mothers in nice dresses driving expensive cars. He felt different from them in his old jeans and worn-out jacket. At the school gate, Emma hugged him goodbye. "Have a good day at work." "Papa, I love you. I love you too, my little star. Learn something new today." Marcus watched Emma walk into the school building with her friends. She was laughing about something one of her classmates had said. It made Marcus happy to see her smile. That smile was what kept him going every day. After dropping off Emma, Marcus walked back home. He was so tired he could barely keep his eyes open. He had worked 8 hours at the corporate building, and he would work 6 more hours at the grocery store that afternoon. But first he needed to sleep. Marcus set his alarm for 1 o'clock and lay down on his bed. The apartment was quiet now, too quiet. Sometimes the silence reminded him of how alone he was. Before Maria died, their home was always full of music and laughter. Now it felt empty, even with Emma there. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to sleep, but his mind was busy with worries. Emma needed new shoes for school. The rent was due in 2 weeks. His car was making strange noises and probably needed repairs. He could not afford that. He thought about his old life as a music teacher. He had loved that job, working with children, seeing them learn to love music like he did. The pay was not great, but it was enough. And he had time to spend with his family. Marcus remembered the last song he had played before Maria died. She was in the hospital bed, weak from the cancer treatments. He had brought his guitar to her room and played her favorite song, La Vida. Isabella, life is beautiful. Maria had smiled and whispered, "Play it again." So he played it 3 more times until she fell asleep. The alarm clock woke Marcus at 1 o'clock. He felt like he had just closed his eyes. His body was still tired, but he had to get up. The grocery store was expecting him at 2 o'clock. Marcus took a quick shower and put on his grocery store uniform, a red shirt with the store logo and black pants. He ate a sandwich for lunch and walked to the bus stop. The grocery store was called Sam's Market, and it was in a busy part of town. Marcus worked in the stockroom, moving boxes and putting items on shelves. It was hard physical work, but the manager, Mr. Peterson, was kind to Marcus. "How are you doing today, Marcus?" Mr. Peterson asked when Marcus arrived. "I'm good, sir. Ready to work. We got a big truck delivery this morning. Lots of boxes to unload." Marcus spent the next 6 hours lifting heavy boxes and organizing the stockroom. His back hurt and his hands got cut from the rough cardboard, but he worked without complaining. He needed this job. During his break, Marcus sat outside behind the store and called Emma's school. He did this every day to make sure she was okay. "Hello, this is Marcus Rodriguez. I am checking on my daughter Emma in Mrs. Wilson's 3rd grade class." "Hello, Mr. Rodriguez. Emma is doing fine today. She ate her lunch and is playing with her friends at recess." Marcus felt relieved. He worried about Emma all day when he was at work. What if she got hurt? What if she felt sad and had no one to talk to? After work, Marcus took the bus to Emma's school to pick her up. She ran to him with a big smile, carrying her backpack and a piece of paper. "Papa, look what I drew in art class." Marcus looked at the drawing. It was a picture of Emma, and a woman with long, dark hair. The woman had wings like an angel. "That is me and you and Mama watching over us from heaven," Emma explained. Marcus felt tears in his eyes, but he smiled. "It is beautiful, Emma. We will put it on the refrigerator when we get home." They walked home together. Emma told him about her day at school, about the book they read in class and the game they played at recess. Marcus listened to every word. These moments with Emma were the best part of his day. At home, Marcus helped Emma with her homework while he cooked dinner. They had rice and beans with chicken, a simple meal but filling. After dinner, Emma practiced piano on the small keyboard Marcus had bought her for $50 at a pawn shop. It was not the same as a real piano, but it helped her practice between lessons with Mrs. Chun. Emma played the songs she was learning. Her small fingers moved carefully across the keys. Marcus could hear Maria in the way Emma played, the same gentle touch and natural rhythm. "That sounds beautiful, Emma. You're getting so much better. Mrs. Chun says I have good fingers for piano. She says if I practice every day I could be really good someday. I believe that. Music is in your blood." After Emma's bath and bedtime story, Marcus tucked her into bed. He kissed her forehead and turned off the light. "Papa," Emma said in the darkness, "do you think Mama would be proud of my piano playing?" Marcus sat back down on the edge of her bed. I know she would be very proud. Your mama loved music more than anything, except for you and me. When you play piano, you are keeping her memory alive. I want to get really good so I can play in a concert someday, like the ones we see on TV. Maybe you will, my little star. Maybe you will. Marcus watched Emma fall asleep, then went to get ready for his night shift at the corporate building. In a few hours, he would be back to cleaning offices and emptying trash cans. The same routine every day, but as he looked at Emma sleeping peacefully, Marcus knew why he did it all. Everything was for her. Every hour of work, every aching muscle, every sacrifice. Emma was his reason for everything. Soon he would go back to that building with the beautiful piano he could never play. But maybe someday Emma would play pianos like that. Maybe she would have the musical life that Marcus had lost. That dream kept him going, one day at a time. Marcus arrived at Henderson Corporate Tower 2 hours earlier than usual. It was Thursday evening, and the company was having its annual charity gala. The event was a big deal for the company. Rich people from all over the city would come to donate money and eat fancy food. Marcus had been asked to work extra hours to help set up the executive lounge for the party. He needed the extra money, so he said yes. Every dollar helped with Emma's school supplies and piano lessons. The executive lounge was on the 42nd floor, the same floor Marcus cleaned every night. But tonight it would look very different. Party planners had been working all day to make it beautiful. Marcus pushed his cart off the elevator and saw the transformation. The room looked like a palace. White tablecloths covered round tables. Crystal glasses sparkled under the fancy lights. Fresh flowers filled tall vases. Everything looked expensive and perfect. Marcus, good, you're here, said Janet, the party coordinator. She was a thin woman with blonde hair who always spoke very fast. We need you to move all these chairs and set up the extra tables. The servers will be here soon with the food. Marcus nodded and started working. He moved heavy tables and arranged chairs around them. He polished the silverware and made sure every glass was clean. The work was harder than his usual cleaning job, but Marcus did not complain. As he worked, Marcus noticed the piano in the corner. Someone had moved it to the center of the room and put a spotlight on it. A sign next to it said silent auction. Item, private piano lessons with concert pianist Marina Volkov, starting bid $5,000. $5,000 for piano lessons. Marcus thought about how many months of lessons Emma could get with that money, how many years of rent that could pay. But he pushed those thoughts away. This was not his world. More workers arrived to help set up. Catering staff brought in trays of fancy food. Marcus had never seen food like this before. There were tiny sandwiches cut into perfect triangles, cheese that cost more per pound than Marcus made in a day, and desserts that looked like art. The servers were all young and dressed in black uniforms. They moved quickly and efficiently, setting up food stations and checking that everything was perfect. Marcus noticed they did not really look at him or talk to him. To them, he was just part of the background. By 7 o'clock, everything was ready. The room looked amazing. Soft music played from hidden speakers. The city lights outside the windows made everything glow. Marcus finished his setup work and was told to continue with his regular cleaning duties in other parts of the building. As Marcus cleaned the offices on the 40th floor, he could hear sounds from the party above. Laughter, talking, the clinking of glasses. He imagined what it must be like to be at a party like that. To wear expensive clothes and eat fancy food and not worry about money. Around 8:30, Marcus needed to refill his cleaning supplies from the storage room near the executive lounge. As he walked down the hallway, he could see into the party through the glass doors. The room was full of people in beautiful clothes. Men wore dark suits that probably cost more than Marcus made in 3 months. Women wore elegant dresses and jewelry that sparkled in the light. Everyone looked important and successful. Marcus saw Mr. Henderson, the company president, talking to a group of people. He was an older man with gray hair who always looked serious. Marcus had cleaned his office many times but had never spoken. To him, there was also Mrs. Henderson, The CEO, she was younger than her husband and had started the company's charity programs. Marcus had heard the other workers talk about how smart and kind she was. Tonight she wore a blue dress and was smiling as she talked to guests. Marcus tried to walk past the party quickly, but someone opened the glass doors just as he was passing. Sound spilled out into the hallway. He could hear a woman playing the piano, the same piano he dusted every night. For just a moment, Marcus stopped to listen. The pianist was very good, playing a classical piece he recognized. The music was beautiful, but it made Marcus feel sad. It reminded him of Maria and all the music that was missing from his life now. "Excuse me, you need to move along," said a security guard. "This is a private event." "I am sorry," Marcus said. "I work here, just getting supplies." The security guard looked at Marcus's uniform and nodded. "Okay, but be quick about it." Marcus hurried to the storage room and gathered what he needed. But as he walked back, he could not help looking into the party again. The pianist had finished playing and people were clapping. Some guests were looking at the auction items, including the piano lessons. Marcus noticed a group of younger people standing near the bar. They worked for the company but were not as important as the older executives. Marcus recognized some of them from the offices he cleaned. They were drinking and laughing loudly. One of them was Bradley Hutchins from the marketing department. Marcus knew him because his office was always messy, with food containers and empty coffee cups everywhere. Bradley was about 30 years old and always wore expensive suits. He had blonde hair and a loud voice. Bradley was talking to his friends and pointing at different people in the room. Marcus could not hear what he was saying, but Bradley and his friends were laughing like they were making jokes about the other guests. Marcus continued with his work, cleaning offices on different floors. Every time he passed near the executive lounge, he could hear the party continuing. The music, the laughter, the sounds of people having fun. Around 10 o'clock, Marcus was cleaning an office on the 41st floor when he heard someone calling for the janitor. He took the elevator up to the executive floor and found Janet, the party coordinator, looking upset. "Marcus, thank goodness," she said. "Someone spilled red wine on the carpet near the piano. We need it cleaned up right away before it stains." Marcus followed Janet into the party. He felt uncomfortable being in the room with all these important people. Everyone was dressed so nicely, and he was just the janitor in his work uniform. The wine spill was not too bad. Marcus used special carpet cleaner and worked quickly to remove the stain. As he worked, he tried not to look at the guests, but he could feel some of them watching him. "Good as new," Marcus said quietly to Janet when he finished. "Thank you. You can go back to your regular work now." As Marcus gathered his cleaning supplies, he noticed he was kneeling right next to the piano. Up close, it was even more beautiful than he had thought. The black wood was so shiny he could see his reflection. The keys were perfect, not even a fingerprint on them. For just a second, Marcus let his fingers hover over the keys. He did not touch them, but he imagined what it would feel like to play this beautiful instrument. To make music again after so many years. "Hey, look at that," said a loud voice behind him. "The janitor is checking out the piano." Marcus turned around and saw Bradley Hutchins and his friends standing there. They all had drinks in their hands and looked like they had been drinking for a while. "I am sorry," Marcus said, standing up quickly. "I was just cleaning the spill." "Sure you were," Bradley said with a smirk. "I bet you don't even know what that thing is, do you?" Marcus felt his face get hot. He wanted to say something, but he knew he should not. These people could get him fired. He needed this job. "It is a piano, sir," Marcus said quietly. Bradley and his friends laughed. "Oh, he knows it's a piano. How smart." "I bet he thinks he could play it too." Marcus picked up his cleaning supplies and started to walk away. But Bradley's voice got louder. "Wait a minute, I'm talking to you. Don't you want to show us what you can do?" Other people at the party were starting to notice the commotion. Marcus saw some of them looking over with curious expressions. This was getting embarrassing. "I just need to get back to work," Marcus sighed, trying to stay calm. "Come on, don't be shy," Bradley continued. "I bet you've got some real talent hidden in there. All you people are naturally musical, right?" Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. All you people. He knew what Bradley meant by that, and it made him feel sick. But he also knew he could not lose his temper. He had Emma to think about. More people were gathering around now. Someone was even holding up a phone like they wanted to record what was happening. Marcus felt trapped. He just wanted to leave, but Bradley and his friends were blocking his way. "What's going on here?" asked a woman's voice. Marcus looked up and saw Mrs. Henderson, the CEO, walking over to them. She looked concerned and a little angry. "Oh, Mrs. Henderson," Bradley said, suddenly changing his tone. "We were just having some fun with the help here." Asking him about the piano. Mrs. Henderson looked at Marcus with kind eyes. "Are you all right?" "Yes, ma'am. I was just cleaning up a spill." "I should get back to work now, in a minute," she said. Then she looked at Bradley with a stern expression. "Mr. Hutchins, this is a charity event. We're here to help people, not to make fun of them." Bradley's face turned red. "We weren't making fun of anyone. We were just joking around." "Well, I suggest you find something else to joke about," Mrs. Henderson said firmly. Marcus thought that would be the end of it. Mrs. Henderson had stopped Bradley from being mean, and now he could go back to work. But Bradley was not ready to let it go. Maybe it was the alcohol. Or maybe he was embarrassed about being scolded by his boss. But instead of walking away, Bradley got louder. The entire party had gone quiet. Marcus stood frozen next to the piano, holding his cleaning supplies. Everyone was looking at him. Rich men in expensive suits, elegant women with jewelry that sparkled in the light, and company executives who made decisions worth millions of dollars. Bradley Hutchins smiled like a cat that had caught a mouse. He was enjoying the attention and the power he felt over Marcus. The alcohol had made him bold and mean. "Come on, everyone," Bradley said loudly, raising his glass of wine. "Don't you want to see what our janitor can do? I bet he's got some hidden talents." Some people in the crowd looked uncomfortable. They shifted their feet and looked away. But others seemed curious, like they were watching a show. A few young executives near Bradley started laughing and encouraging him. "Play us something," shouted one of Bradley's friends. "Show us what you've got." Mrs. Henderson stepped forward. That's enough. This gentleman is here to work, not to entertain you." But Bradley was not listening to his boss anymore. The wine had made him stupid and cruel. He looked around the room and saw that he had an audience. Important people were watching him, and he wanted to show off. "Oh, come on, Mrs. Henderson," Bradley said with a fake smile. "Where's your sense of fun? It's a charity event. Maybe our friend here has a special talent. Maybe he could be our entertainment for the evening." Marcus felt his heart beating fast. He wanted to run away, but there were people all around him. The piano was behind him, and Bradley and his friends were in front of him. He felt trapped. "I really need to get back to work," Marcus said quietly. His voice was shaking a little. "Work?" Bradley laughed. "Your work is to clean up after us, but right now we want you to play. Come on, don't be shy. I dare you to play something." The word dare made everything worse. Now it was not just a mean joke. It was a challenge in front of all these important people. Marcus could see some of them holding up their phones, ready to record whatever happened next. Mrs. Henderson looked angry. "Mr. Hutchins, you're being inappropriate. This man is an employee, not a performer. But what if he wants to play?" Bradley asked innocently. "What if he's just been waiting for his big chance?" Bradley turned to Marcus with a nasty smile. "Come on, buddy. This is your moment. All these important people are here. Play us a song, and maybe someone will discover your talent. Maybe you'll become famous." Marcus could hear people whispering around him. Some were saying Bradley was being mean. Others were wondering if Marcus really could play. A few were making bets about what would happen. "I bet he doesn't even know how to touch the keys," said one of Bradley's friends. "Maybe he'll play chopsticks," laughed another. Mrs. Henderson looked around the room. "This is ridiculous. Everyone should go back to enjoying the party," but nobody moved. They were all waiting to see what Marcus would do. The room felt like it was getting smaller and hotter. Marcus could feel sweat on his forehead. Bradley walked closer to Marcus. Look, I'll make this easy for you. Just sit down at the piano and hit a few keys. Pretend you're playing something. Give these people a little show, and then you can go back to your cleaning. Marcus looked at the piano bench. It was black leather, soft and expensive. He had never sat on anything so nice. The piano keys were perfect white and black, without a single scratch or mark. I cannot, Marcus whispered. Cannot? Bradley's voice got louder. Or will not. Come on, everyone's watching. Don't make us all wait here. All night. More people were gathering around. Marcus could see Mr. Henderson, the company president, pushing through the crowd. He looked serious and a little angry. What's all this commotion? Mr. Henderson asked. Bradley quickly changed his tone. Oh, Mr. Henderson, sir. We were just asking. Our friend here to play a little music for us. You know, for the charity event. Mr. Henderson looked at Marcus, then at Bradley, then at all the people with their phones out. I think our employee should get back to his work. But sir, Bradley said, wouldn't it be nice to have some live music? I mean, we're paying for it anyway, right? Marcus felt sick to his stomach. The way Bradley said, we're paying for it, made it clear what he meant. Marcus was just an employee. Someone they paid to do what they wanted. Mrs. Henderson stepped closer to her husband and whispered something in his ear. Mr. Henderson nodded and looked at Bradley with a stern expression. Mr. Hutchins, I think you've had enough to drink tonight. Perhaps you should— No, it's fine, Bradley interrupted. Look, I'll make this simple. Bradley reached into his wallet and pulled out a $100 bill. He held it up so everyone could see. Here's $100 if you play one song. Just one song? Easy money, right? The crowd got even quieter. Marcus stared at the money. $100 was a lot for him. That could pay for Emma's piano lessons for 5 weeks. Or it could buy groceries for 2 weeks. Or help with the rent. But Marcus also knew this was wrong. Bradley was not offering him money to be nice. He was trying to buy a show, to make Marcus perform like a trained animal. Come on, Bradley said, waving the money. Easy money for easy work. Just sit down and play something, anything. Marcus looked around the room at all the faces watching him. Some people looked excited, like they were at a circus. Others looked uncomfortable, but they were not leaving. They wanted to see what would happen. Near the back of the crowd, Marcus saw a young woman who looked sad. She was shaking her head and looking at Bradley like she was disgusted. That made Marcus feel a little better. At least someone understood how wrong this was. $200, said someone from the crowd. Marcus could not see who it was. 300, shouted another voice. Now people were treating this like an auction. They were bidding money to see Marcus humiliate himself. Marcus felt like he might throw up. Mrs. Henderson looked furious. Stop this right now. All of you should be ashamed of yourselves. But her voice was lost in the crowd. People were getting excited about the bidding. Someone shouted, 500, and everyone cheered. Marcus closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about Emma at home, probably asleep by now. He thought about their tiny apartment and all the bills on the kitchen counter. He thought about Emma's piano lessons and how happy she was when she learned a new song. $500 would help so much. It would pay for Emma's lessons for months. It would fix his car. It would buy Emma new clothes for school. But Marcus also thought about his dignity, about what Maria would say if she could see him now, about what Emma would think if she knew her father had been treated like this. Bradley was still holding up his $100 bill, but now other people were shouting higher amounts. The whole thing had become a game to them, a way to have fun at Marcus's expense. Come on, Bradley yelled over the noise. Someone offered 500. That's good money for a few minutes of work. Marcus opened his eyes and looked at the piano. It was the same piano he cleaned every night. The same piano that reminded him of Maria and the music they used to share. The same piano that made him think of Emma and her dreams of playing in concerts someday. For a moment, Marcus imagined what it would feel like to touch those keys, to make music again after all these years, to show these people that he was more than just a janitor. But then he remembered why he was here. He was not here to make music. He was here to clean up after these people so he could take care of his daughter. I am sorry, Marcus said quietly. I cannot do this. I need to get back to work. The crowd made disappointed sounds. Some people booed. Bradley looked angry that his show was being ruined. Come on, Bradley shouted. Don't be a coward, it's just a piano. How hard can it be? But Marcus started walking toward the door. He was done with this humiliation. He would rather keep his dignity than take their money. Wait! Someone shouted from the back. Let him go if he doesn't want to play. But Bradley was not ready to give up. He had gotten the whole party focused on this moment, and he was not going to let Marcus escape without giving him what he wanted. Bradley stepped in front of Marcus, blocking his path to the door. Oh no, you don't get to just walk away. Not after getting everyone excited. You owe us something now. Mrs. Henderson pushed through the crowd. Mr. Hutchins, move out of the way right now. But Bradley ignored her. He was looking at Marcus with cruel eyes, and Marcus realized that this was not going to end easily. The crowd pressed closer, and Marcus felt more trapped than ever. All these important people watching him, waiting to see what would happen next. Marcus looked at the piano one more time, then at the faces around him, then at Bradley's cruel smile. He realized he was going to have to make a choice that would change everything. Marcus stood in the middle of the crowd, feeling like the whole world was pressing down on him. Bradley was still blocking his way to the door. People were still holding up their phones, waiting for something to happen. The room was so quiet. He could hear his own heartbeat. Fine, Marcus said softly. The word came out before he could stop it. Marcus surprised himself by saying it. But looking at all these faces, at Bradley's cruel smile, at the phones recording everything, something inside him changed. These people thought they knew who he was. They thought he was just a poor janitor who could not do anything but clean their offices. They thought they could buy him and make him dance for their entertainment. Maybe it was time to show them they were wrong. Marcus set down his cleaning supplies and walked slowly toward the piano. The crowd stepped back to give him room, but they stayed close enough to watch. The air felt thick and heavy. Bradley grinned and pulled out his phone. Finally! This is going to be good. Mrs. Henderson looked worried. You don't have to do this, she said to Marcus. Marcus turned to look at her. She seemed like a kind person, but she was part of this world too. A world where people like him were invisible until someone wanted to make fun of them. It is okay, Marcus said quietly. I want to. Marcus reached the piano bench and stopped. The leather seat was smooth and soft. The piano was even more beautiful up close. He could see his reflection in the shiny black wood. For a moment, Marcus hesitated. It had been so long since he had played a real piano. What if he had forgotten how? What if his fingers did not work the way they used to? What if he embarrassed himself even worse? But then Marcus thought about Maria, about the first time she heard him play, 15 years ago at that music conference. About the way her eyes lit up when he played her favorite song. About all the evenings they spent making music together. Marcus thought about Emma too, about her small fingers learning to move across the keys, about her dream of playing in concert someday, about how proud she was when she learned a new song. Music was in his blood. It was part of who he was, no matter what job he had to do to survive. Marcus sat down on the piano bench and adjusted it to the right height. He placed his hands above the keys but did not touch them yet. The room was completely silent now. Even Bradley had stopped talking. Marcus looked out at the crowd one more time. All these rich, important people waiting to laugh at him, waiting to see him fail so they could feel better about themselves, but Marcus was not thinking about them anymore. He was thinking about Maria. He closed his eyes and let his fingers touch the keys. The first note was soft and clear. It rang out in the silent room like a bell. Marcus played the second note, then the third. Slowly, carefully, like he was greeting an old friend, and then the magic happened. Marcus began to play Chopin's Nocturne in A-flat major. It was the same piece Maria had played the night before she died. The same piece she had asked him to learn so they could play it together someday. Marcus had learned it for her, but she died before he could play it for her. He had never played it since then. Until now, his fingers moved across the keys like they remembered exactly what to do. The melody flowed out of the piano, filling the room with beautiful, sad music. Marcus felt like Maria was there with him. Guiding his hands, the music was perfect. Every note was clear and true. Marcus played with feeling and skill that surprised even himself. He had not lost his talent. It had been sleeping inside him, waiting for the right moment to wake up. The crowd was completely silent now. Even Bradley had put down his phone and was just listening. Some people had their mouths open in shock. Others looked like they might cry. Mrs. Henderson had tears in her eyes. She whispered something to her husband, who also looked amazed. Marcus finished the chopping piece and without stopping began to play something else. This time it was an original song he had written for Emma when she was born. He had never played it for anyone before. It was too personal, too full of love and hope, and dreams for his daughter's future. The song was gentle and sweet like a lullaby, but it also had strength in it like a promise. A promise that no matter how hard life got, love would always find a way. As Marcus played, he thought about Emma sleeping at home. He thought about her dreams of playing piano in concert halls someday. He thought about how music connected them to Maria. Even though she was gone, tears started running down Marcus's face, but he kept playing. The music poured out of him like water from a broken dam. All the sadness and loneliness and love he had been holding inside for so long. The people in the crowd were crying too. Men in expensive suits wiped their eyes. Women in elegant dresses reached for tissues. Even some of Bradley's friends looked ashamed of what they had done. Marcus played for 10 minutes, moving from one piece to another. Classical music, jazz, original compositions, songs that Maria used to love. His fingers never hesitated. His heart guided every note. When Marcus finally played the last note, the room stayed silent for a long moment. The music seemed to hang in the air like perfume. Then someone started clapping. It was Mrs. Henderson. Her applause was slow and respectful, like she was in church. Other people joined in, and soon the whole room was clapping, but it was not the kind of clapping you hear at a party. It was the kind of clapping you hear at a concert hall. When people have just heard something that touched their souls. Marcus opened his eyes and looked at the crowd. Every face had changed. The mean looks were gone. The cruel smiles had disappeared. Instead, people looked moved and surprised, and a little ashamed. Bradley was not clapping. He was standing at the back of the crowd with his arms crossed, looking angry and embarrassed. A few people near him were shaking their heads and walking away from him. Mrs. Henderson walked over to the piano. Tears were still running down her cheeks. "That was incredible," she said softly. "Where did you learn to play like that?" Marcus wiped his eyes and stood up from the piano bench. "My wife taught me some of it. The rest I learned in college before I became a teacher." "You were a music teacher?" "Yes, ma'am. For 8 years before." Marcus's voice trailed off. He did not want to tell this room full of strangers about Maria's cancer and their medical bills and how he had lost everything. But Mrs. Henderson seemed to understand. "What's your name?" "Marcus Rodriguez." "Marcus, that was the most beautiful music I've ever heard at one of these parties. You have an amazing gift." Other people were coming over now, wanting to talk to Marcus. They were saying nice things about his playing and asking him questions about music. They were treating him like a person, not just the janitor, but Marcus felt uncomfortable with all the attention. He had not played the piano to impress these people. He had played it for Maria and for Emma and for himself. He had played it because they tried to take away his dignity, and music was the only way. He knew how to get it back. "I should get back to work now," Marcus said quietly. "Wait," said Mrs. Henderson. "Can we talk privately?" Marcus nodded. Mrs. Henderson led him to a quiet corner of the room, away from the crowd. "Marcus, I need to apologize for what happened tonight. What Mr. Hutchins did was completely wrong. No one should be treated that way." "It is okay," Marcus said. "I'm used to it." "No, it's not okay. And you shouldn't have to be used to it." Mrs. Henderson looked serious. "Can you tell me more about your background? About your music teaching?" Marcus told her the short version of his story. About Maria, about losing his teaching job, about working 2 jobs to take care of Emma. Mrs. Henderson listened without interrupting. Marcus, I want to help you. The company has education programs that need people with your skills and experience. Would you be interested in talking about that? Marcus felt a spark of hope, but he tried not to get too excited. What kind of programs? We're starting a new community outreach project. Music education for children who can't afford lessons. We need someone to run it, someone who understands both music and teaching. Marcus's heart started beating faster. A job working with music and children? It sounded too good to be true. I would be very interested in that, Marcus said. Mrs. Henderson smiled. Good, come see me Monday morning. We'll talk about the details. As they talked, Marcus noticed that most of the party guests were leaving. The mood had changed after his performance. People seemed quieter, more thoughtful. Some were still talking about the music they had heard. Bradley and his friends had already left. Marcus was glad about that. He did not want to deal with any more of their meanness tonight, Mrs. Henderson, Marcus said. Thank you for this opportunity. But I have to ask, why are you helping me? Mrs. Henderson smiled sadly. Because music has power, Marcus? What you played tonight reminded everyone in this room that we're all human beings, including you, including me. Sometimes we forget that in the business world. She paused and looked back at the piano. And because my daughter died 3 years ago, she was a musician too. When I heard you play tonight, I heard her. I heard the love you have for music and for your family. I don't want to see talent like yours wasted. Marcus felt tears in his eyes again. I am sorry for your loss. Thank you. Her name was Sophie. She would have loved your music tonight. Marcus. And Mrs. Henderson shook hands, and she gave him her business card. Then Marcus gathered his cleaning supplies and went back to work. The last note of Marcus's music seemed to float in the air forever. When it finally faded away, the executive lounge was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the air conditioning and the distant noise of traffic far below. Marcus sat at the piano bench, his hands still resting on the keys. His face was wet with tears. He had not realized he was crying. For 10 minutes he had forgotten where he was. He had forgotten about the cruel laughter and the phones recording him. He had forgotten about being the janitor who did not belong. In this room, for 10 minutes, Marcus had just been himself again. A musician. A man who could make something beautiful in the world. Mrs. Henderson was the first person to move. She walked slowly toward the piano, her elegant blue dress rustling softly. Her eyes were red from crying, and she was holding a tissue in her trembling hand. That was ... she started to say, then stopped. She looked like she was trying to find the right words but could not. Other people began moving closer to the piano. Their faces had completely changed from when the evening started. The cruel excitement was gone. The mean laughter had disappeared. Instead, everyone looked moved and surprised and maybe a little ashamed. An older man in a gray suit stepped forward. Marcus recognized him as Mr. Patterson, one of the company's senior vice presidents. His voice was shaky when he spoke. Young man, that was extraordinary. I have been to concerts at Carnegie Hall that were not as moving as what you just played. A woman with short blonde hair nodded in agreement. I have never heard anything so beautiful. The emotion in your playing, it was like you were telling us a story without words. More people gathered around the piano, all wanting to say something about the music they had just heard. But Mrs. Henderson raised her hand for quiet. Please, everyone, give him some space, she said gently. Then she looked directly at Marcus. That was the most incredible performance I have ever witnessed. Where on earth did you learn to play like that? Marcus wiped his eyes and looked up at her. Mrs. Henderson's face was kind and concerned, very different from the business executive he had imagined her to be. I went to music school, Marcus said quietly, before I became a teacher, before ... His voice trailed off. Before what? Mrs. Henderson asked softly. Marcus looked around at all the faces watching him. These were important people, wealthy people who lived in a completely different world than he did. But something had changed in their eyes. They were not looking at him like he was just the janitor anymore. Before my wife got sick, Marcus continued, before I had to give up everything to take care of her and my daughter. Mrs. Henderson sat down on a chair next to the piano. Tell me more, please. Marcus took a deep breath. For 3 years, he had kept his story private. He had not wanted anyone's pity or sympathy. He had just wanted to work hard and take care of Emma. But tonight, something made him want to share the truth. My wife Maria was a music teacher too, Marcus began. We met at a music conference 15 years ago. She was the most talented pianist I had ever heard. She could play anything, classical, jazz, pop songs, anything. Marcus looked down at his hands on the piano keys. We both taught at the same elementary school. Maria taught piano and I taught general music. We had a good life. Not rich, but happy. We had our music and each other and our daughter Emma. What happened? Asked the woman with blonde hair. Maria got cancer 3 years ago. Breast cancer. It came fast and it was aggressive. Marcus's voice got quieter. I quit my teaching job to take care of her full time. The treatments were expensive. Even with insurance, we used up all our savings. We sold our car, our piano, everything we could. The room was completely silent now. Even the people at the back were straining to hear Marcus's words. Maria fought for 18 months, Marcus continued. She was so brave, so strong. Even when she was weak from the treatments, she would still try to teach Emma piano lessons. She would sit at our old piano and show Emma how to move her fingers, even when it hurt her to lift her arms. Tears were running down Mrs. Henderson's face again. Several other people in the crowd were also crying. The last song I ever played for her was in the hospital, Marcus said. I brought my guitar to her room and played La Vita is Bella. Life is Beautiful. It was her favorite song. She asked me to play it again and again until she fell asleep. Marcus had to stop talking for a moment. Even after 2 years, it was still hard to talk about Maria's last days. After she died, I had to find work quickly. Emma was only 6 years old and she needed me. The medical bills had destroyed our credit. No schools were hiring music teachers in the middle of the year. The only job I could find was cleaning offices at night. What about your daughter now? Mrs. Henderson asked gently. Marcus's face lit up a little when he talked about Emma. She is 8 years old and she is amazing. She looks just like her mother and she has Maria's gift for music. I take her to piano lessons once a week with an old lady in our neighborhood. Emma is learning fast. She wants to be a concert pianist someday. Like her mother, said Mr. Patterson. Like her mother, Marcus agreed. Every dollar I can spare goes to Emma's lessons. Music is her connection to Maria. When Emma plays piano, I can see her mother in her. It keeps Maria's memory alive. Mrs. Henderson looked around the room at all the people listening. Then she looked back at Marcus. The songs you played tonight? She said, tell me about them. Marcus touched the piano keys gently. The first one was Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. Maria played it the night before she died. She asked me to learn it so we could play it together as a duet someday. I learned it for her, but she died before I could play it with her. Tonight was the first time I played it since then. And the second piece? That was something I wrote for Emma when she was born. I called it Little Star. I have never played it for anyone before. It was too personal. Mrs. Henderson stood up and walked closer to the piano. Marcus, can I ask you something? Yes, ma'am. Why did you agree to play tonight? After the way Mr. Hutchins treated you, after the cruel things that were said, why did you sit down at this piano? Marcus thought about her question for a moment. At first I did not want to. I was angry and embarrassed. I just wanted to go back to work and forget this ever happened. But then I realized something. These people thought they knew who I was. They thought I was just a poor man who cleaned their offices. They thought they could buy me and make me perform for their entertainment. Marcus looked around the room at all the faces watching him. I wanted to show them they were wrong. I wanted to show them that I am more than just a janitor, that I have something valuable inside me, even if my job is not important to them. And the music you chose to play? I played for Maria and for Emma and for myself. I played to remember who I really am underneath this uniform. Mrs. Henderson nodded slowly. And who are you, Marcus Rodriguez? Marcus sat up straighter on the piano bench. For the first time in 3 years, he felt proud of himself again. I am a musician. I am a teacher. I am a father who would do anything for his daughter. I am a man who loved his wife more than anything in the world. I am someone who believes that music can heal hearts and change lives. He paused and looked directly at Mrs. Henderson. I just happen to work as a janitor right now because that is what I have to do to survive. The crowd began clapping again, but it was different from before. This was not applause for entertainment. This was respect for a man who had shared his heart with them. Mrs. Henderson waited for the clapping to stop. Then she spoke in a clear, strong voice that everyone could hear. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we came here for a charity event. We came to raise money to help people in our community. But I think we received more than we gave. She gestured toward Marcus. This man has reminded us what real talent looks like. What real strength looks like. What real love looks like. Mrs. Henderson turned to face the whole crowd. Mr. Rodriguez has been working in our building for 3 years. 3 years. And none of us knew that we had a master musician walking among us every night. None of us took the time to see who he really was. The room was quiet again. Some people looked uncomfortable, like they were thinking about all the times they had walked past Marcus without really seeing him. This is my fault. As much as anyone's, Mrs. Henderson continued. As the CEO of this company, I should have known my employees better. I should have created an environment where people like Marcus could use their talents. She looked back at Marcus. But that changes tonight. Marcus, I want to offer you a job. A real job that uses your skills and experience. Will you come to my office Monday morning so we can discuss it? Marcus felt like his heart might explode with hope and gratitude. Yes, ma'am. I would be honored, Mrs. Henderson smiled. Good, and Marcus? Yes? Thank you for reminding us all that every person has value. Every person has a story. Every person deserves to be seen and respected. As the evening ended and people began to leave, many of them stopped to shake Marcus's hand or say something kind about his music. Even some of Bradley's friends apologized for their behavior earlier. Bradley himself had left during Marcus's performance. Nobody seemed to miss him. Marcus finished his cleaning duties that night with a lighter heart than he had felt in years. Marcus could barely sleep for the rest of the weekend. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the music from Friday night playing in his mind. He remembered the feeling of his fingers on the piano keys, the sound of the beautiful instrument, responding to his touch, and the looks on people's faces when they realized he was more than just a janitor. But most of all, Marcus remembered Mrs. Henderson's words, "Come to my office Monday morning." On Saturday morning, Marcus told Emma what had happened at the company party. He kept the story simple, not wanting to upset her with details about how mean some people had been. Papa, you play piano at your work? Emma asked with wide eyes. They were sitting at their small kitchen table, eating breakfast. Yes, my little star. There was a beautiful piano there, and I got to play it. What songs did you play? Marcus smiled. I played the Chopin piece that Mama used to love, and I played the song I wrote for you when you were born. Emma clapped her hands together. The one you hum to me sometimes? Little Star? That is the one. I wish I could have heard it, Emma said sadly. Marcus reached across the table and took her small hand. Someday I will play it for you on a real piano, I promise. Really? When? Maybe very soon? The lady who owns the company wants to talk to me about a new job. A job where I might get to work with music again. Emma's face lit up like Christmas morning. You could be a music teacher again? Maybe. We will see what happens Monday. That weekend felt like the longest weekend of Marcus's life. He tried to stay busy, doing laundry and cleaning their apartment and helping Emma with her homework. But his mind kept wandering to Monday morning and what Mrs. Henderson might offer him. On Sunday, Marcus took Emma to the park. As they walked Around the pond, Emma asked him more questions about the piano performance. Papa, were you scared to play in front of all those important people? Marcus thought about how to answer. Yes, I was scared. But sometimes when you are scared, you have to be brave anyway. Like when I had to sing solo in the school concert? Exactly like that. You were nervous, but you did it anyway because music is important to you? Emma nodded seriously. And because Mama would have wanted me to? That is right, my little star. Your Mama is always with us when we make music. Monday morning came slowly. Marcus dropped Emma off at school as usual, but instead of going home to sleep, he went to a coffee shop near the Henderson building. He had 3 hours before his meeting with Mrs. Henderson, and he was too nervous to sleep. Marcus ordered a small coffee and sat by the window. He watched people walking to work in their business clothes, carrying briefcases and talking on phones. Soon he might be one of them again. A professional person with an important job, but Marcus tried not to get his hopes too high. Maybe Mrs. Henderson had changed her mind over the weekend. Maybe the offer was not as good as it sounded Friday night. Maybe this was all too good to be true. At exactly 10 o'clock. Marcus entered the Henderson corporate tower through the main entrance. This was the first time he had ever used the front door. Usually he came in through the service entrance in the basement. The lobby was huge and fancy, with marble floors and crystal chandeliers. Marcus felt out of place in his best clothes, a clean white shirt and his only tie. Other people in the lobby wore expensive suits and carried leather briefcases. Marcus approached the reception desk. A young woman with blonde hair and a friendly smile looked up at him. Good morning. How can I help you? I have an appointment with Mrs. Henderson at 10 o'clock. My name is Marcus Rodriguez. The receptionist checked her computer. Yes, Mr. Rodriguez. Mrs. Henderson is expecting you. Take the elevator to the 45th floor. Her assistant will meet you there. Marcus had never been to the 45th floor before. That was 3 floors higher than he had ever cleaned. The elevator ride seemed to take forever. When the doors opened, Marcus stepped into a hallway that was even more elegant than the executive lounge. The carpet was thick and soft, the walls were covered with expensive art, and everything was perfectly clean and organized. A woman in a gray suit approached him. Mr. Rodriguez, I am Sarah, Mrs. Henderson's assistant. She is ready to see you now. Marcus followed Sarah down the hallway to a large wooden door with a gold nameplate. Margaret Henderson, Chief Executive Officer. Sarah knocked softly and opened the door. Mrs. Henderson, Mr. Rodriguez is here. Send him in, please. Marcus walked into the largest office he had ever seen. The walls were covered with bookshelves and awards. A huge window looked out over the entire city. Mrs. Henderson sat behind a desk that was bigger than Marcus's kitchen table, but Mrs. Henderson did not stay behind her desk. She stood up and walked around to greet Marcus personally. Marcus, thank you for coming. Please sit down. She gestured to 2 comfortable chairs near the window. Would you like some coffee or water? Coffee would be nice. Thank you. Mrs. Henderson asked Sarah to bring them coffee, then sat down across from Marcus. She looked different than she had Friday night. Less formal, more relaxed. She was wearing a simple blue suit and had her hair pulled back. Marcus, I want to start by apologizing again for what happened Friday night. Mr. Hutchins has been terminated from the company. Marcus was surprised. You fired him? His behavior was completely unacceptable. It violated our company values and our code of conduct. We cannot have employees who treat people with such disrespect. Sarah brought them coffee in china cups with saucers. Marcus had never drunk coffee from such fancy dishes before. Now, Mrs. Henderson continued, let us talk about you. I have been thinking about your situation all weekend, and I have a proposal for you. Marcus leaned forward in his chair. I am listening. Our company has been wanting to start a community outreach program focused on music education for underprivileged children. Children whose families cannot afford private lessons. We want to provide instruments and instruction to kids who would never otherwise have the chance to learn music. Mrs. Henderson picked up a folder from the small table between their chairs. After hearing you play Friday night and learning about your background, I think you would be perfect to run this program. Marcus felt his heart beating faster. What would the job involve? You would be the director of community music education. You would work with local schools and community centers to identify children who would benefit from music lessons. You would hire qualified instructors and coordinate the program. And you would teach some classes yourself. Mrs. Henderson opened the folder and handed Marcus some papers. This is a job description and a salary proposal. Please take a look. Marcus looked at the papers and could not believe what he was seeing. The salary was more than twice what he made working both his current jobs. There were health benefits, vacation time, and a retirement plan. This seems too good to be true, Marcus said quietly. It is not too good to be true. It is exactly what you deserve, Mrs. Henderson smiled. Marcus, you have the education, the experience, and the passion we need for this program. Your story, your struggle, your love for your daughter, all of that makes you the right person for this job. What about my current work, the janitorial job? You would give your notice and start here full-time. The position comes with a small office on this floor and an assistant to help you with administrative work. Marcus looked out the window at the city below. From this high up, everything looked different, clean and organized and full of possibility. There is one more thing, Mrs. Henderson said. We want to start the program with a launch event, a concert where some of our scholarship students would perform. We would like you to play piano at that concert as well. You want me to perform? I want the community to see that this program is run by someone who truly understands music. Someone who can inspire these children to reach their potential. Marcus thought about Emma and her dreams of playing in concerts someday. Maybe he could create opportunities for children like her, children whose families could not afford expensive lessons. Mrs. Henderson, can I ask you something? Of course. Why are you doing this for me? You could hire someone with more recent experience, someone who has not been out of music education for 3 years. Mrs. Henderson was quiet for a moment. She looked out the window, then back at Marcus. I told you Friday night that my daughter died 3 years ago. Her name was Sophie, and she was a musician. She played violin and piano, and she had dreams of becoming a professional performer. Mrs. Henderson's voice got softer. Sophie died in a car accident when she was 16. She was coming home from a youth orchestra rehearsal. I am very sorry, Marcus said. Thank you. After Sophie died, I threw myself into work. I tried to forget about music because it hurt too much to think about her dreams that would never come true. But Friday night, when I heard you play, I remembered why music mattered to Sophie. I remembered the joy it brought her and the way it connected her to other people. Mrs. Henderson looked directly at Marcus. I cannot bring Sophie back, but I can help other children have the musical opportunities she would have wanted them to have. And I can help a father who clearly loves his daughter as much as I loved mine. Marcus felt tears in his eyes. Thank you. This means more to me than you will ever know. There is just one condition, Mrs. Henderson said with a small smile. Marcus tensed up. What is that? 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same executive lounge where his life had changed forever. But everything was different now. Instead of cleaning supplies, he carried a folder full of program reports and student progress charts. Instead of a janitor's uniform, he wore a professional suit that fit him perfectly. The room was set up for a special presentation to the Henderson Corporation Board of Directors. Marcus was here to show them what the community music education program had accomplished in its first 6 months. But the most important difference was sitting at the beautiful black piano that had started it all. Emma, now 9 years old, was wearing a pretty white dress with pink flowers. Her long dark hair was braided with a ribbon that matched her dress. She was practicing the piece she would play for the board members in just a few minutes. Marcus watched his daughter with pride as her small fingers moved confidently across the keys. In 6 months, Emma had grown so much as a musician. She now took lessons twice a week with a professional instructor that the company program paid for. She had a real piano at home, too, not as grand as this one, but beautiful enough to fill their apartment with music every evening. Papa, I think I am ready, Emma said, turning around on the piano bench to smile at him. "You sound perfect, my little star. Just remember to breathe and enjoy the music." "I will, and Papa?" "Yes, Mama would be proud of us, would she not?" Marcus felt the familiar tightness in his throat that came whenever Emma mentioned her mother. But now it was mixed with joy instead of just sadness. She would be very proud of your playing, of this program we built, of how brave you are. The boardroom doors opened and Mrs. Henderson entered with the other executives. Marcus recognized most of them from that night 6 months ago, though they looked at him very differently now than he had been invisible. Now they greeted him with respect and genuine warmth. "Good morning, Marcus," said Mrs. Henderson. "And this must be the famous Emma I have heard so much about." Emma stood up from the piano bench and gave a small curtsy, just like Marcus had taught her. "Good morning, Mrs. Henderson. Thank you for letting me play your beautiful piano." "The pleasure is all mine, sweetheart. I cannot wait to hear you play." The board members took their seats around the conference table. Marcus had given many presentations over the past 6 months, but this one was special. Today, he would share the numbers that showed how successful the program had become. "Ladies and gentlemen," Marcus began, 6 months ago, you approved funding for the community music education program. Today, I want to show you what we have accomplished together." Marcus opened his folder and pulled out his first chart. "We now serve 150 children from low-income families across the city. We have partnered with 12 elementary schools and 6 community centers. We provide free instruments, free lessons, and free transportation to students who need it." Mr. Patterson, the senior vice president, raised his hand. "What about the quality of instruction? Are these children really learning?" Marcus smiled. "Let me show you." Marcus gestured to Emma, who walked back to the piano. "This is my daughter Emma. 6 months ago, she was taking 1 lesson per week and practicing on a small keyboard. Today, she is going to play a piece by batch that most students do not learn until they have been playing for several years." Emma sat down at the piano and placed her hands on the keys. She took a deep breath, just like Marcus had taught her, and began to play Bach's Minuet in G major. The music filled the room with its cheerful, dancing melody. Emma's technique was clean and confident. Her timing was perfect. But more than that, she played with expression and joy that made the simple piece sound beautiful. When Emma finished, the board members applauded enthusiastically. Mrs. Henderson had tears in her eyes, just like that night 6 months ago. "That was wonderful, Emma," said Mrs. Patterson, Mr. Patterson's wife, who served on the board. "How long have you been playing?" 3 years, Emma said proudly. "But I have gotten much better since Papa started his new job." Marcus felt his heart swell with pride. Emma was not just a good pianist for her age, she was truly gifted. And now she had the resources and support she needed to develop her talent. "Emma represents what this program can do," Marcus continued. "But she is just one of 150 students who are getting opportunities they never had before." Marcus pulled out another chart. "Let me tell you about Carlos, age 7, whose family immigrated from Honduras. He had never seen a piano before joining our program. Now he plays simple songs and dreams of becoming a music teacher like his instructor." Or Maria, age 10, who lives with her grandmother because her parents cannot take care of her. Music lessons have given her confidence and a sense of accomplishment she never had before. Or David, age 12, who was getting in trouble at school before he started learning guitar. His teachers say music has changed his attitude and his grades. Mrs. Henderson leaned forward in her chair. "Marcus, what do the schools say about the program?" "The feedback has been incredible. Teachers report that students in our program have better focus, better grades, and better social skills. Music education helps children in all areas of their lives." Marcus pulled out letters from principals and teachers praising the program. He shared statistics showing improved test scores and reduced disciplinary problems among participating students. "But the most important measure of success," Marcus said, "is what we see in the children themselves. They have hope now. They have dreams. They believe in their own potential." Mr. Patterson nodded approvingly. What about the costs? Are we staying within budget? We are actually under budget, Marcus replied. We have been able to get donated instruments from local music stores and churches. Many of our instructors volunteer part of their time because they believe in the mission, and we have started generating revenue through our community concerts, Marcus added. Last month's performance raised $15,000 for the program. People want to support what we are doing. Mrs. Henderson smiled. Tell them about the waiting list, Marcus. We currently have 200 children on our waiting list. Word has spread throughout the community about what we offer. We could easily serve 500 students if we had the resources. The board members looked impressed. Marcus could see them nodding and whispering to each other in positive ways. Marcus, said Mrs. Chun, the board's treasurer, what would you need? To expand the program? Marcus had been hoping someone would ask that question. He pulled out his final presentation materials. With additional funding, we could serve 300 students by next year. We would need to hire more instructors, lease additional practice spaces, and buy more instruments. The total cost would be $200,000 per year. That sounds like a lot of money, said Mr. Patterson. It is less than the company spends on coffee for the executive floors, Mrs. Henderson said with a small smile, and the return on investment is immeasurable. Emma, who had been sitting quietly during the presentation, raised her small hand. Yes, Emma, said Mrs. Henderson. May I say something? Of course, sweetheart. Emma stood up and faced the board members. Marcus was amazed by how confident and poised she looked. Before Papa got his new job, I could only take piano lessons once a week. I practiced on a little keyboard that did not sound very good. I thought maybe someday I could be good at piano, but I was not sure. Emma paused and looked at Marcus, then back at the board. Now I have a real piano at home and I take lessons twice a week with Mrs. Rodriguez, who used to play in the symphony. I practice every day and I am learning hard pieces. Mrs. Rodriguez says if I keep working, I could play in concerts or maybe even become a professional musician someday. Emma's voice got stronger as she continued. But there are lots of kids who do not have what I have now. Kids whose families cannot pay for lessons or instruments. This program gives them the same chance I have. It gives them hope. Emma looked directly at Mrs. Henderson. My mama died when I was 6, but she taught me that music can heal sad hearts and bring people together. This program does that for families like mine. The room was completely quiet. When Emma finished speaking, several board members were wiping their eyes. Mrs. Henderson stood up and walked over to Emma. Thank you for sharing that with us, Emma. You are a remarkable young lady. Thank you. I learned it from watching Papa. He never gave up, even when things were really hard. Mrs. Henderson looked around the table at the other board members. I think we have heard enough to make a decision. All in favor of expanding the community music education program? Every hand in the room went up immediately. Unanimous, Mrs. Henderson announced. Marcus, you have your $200,000 for next year, and we will consider additional increases after that. Marcus felt like his heart might burst with gratitude and joy. In 6 months, he had gone from being an invisible janitor to running a program that would change hundreds of children's lives. Thank you, Marcus said, all of you. This program will make a real difference in our community. After the board meeting, Mrs. Henderson walked with Marcus and Emma back to the piano. Emma, would you play one more song for me? Mrs. Henderson asked something special. Emma looked at Marcus, who nodded encouragingly. I would like to play the song Papa wrote for me, Emma said. He calls it Little Star.